what happens if you are put at risk of redundancy and you feel that you are being treated unfairly or that it is a sham in some way to get rid of you? Well, this is a question that often comes up for us, people who are approached by their employer in circumstances which sometimes seem unusual or strange, and the employer is saying we need to make your role redundant. Now, it's not always the case that it's just one particular role. There can be situations where employees are put at risk in a pool and somebody feels that it's a bit of a suspicious situation and they're being treated unfairly. But generally, what happens is somebody is individually targeted for that redundancy and they can't quite understand why it is they are the only ones being made redundant, or seemingly they're being picked on to be the one that goes. Now, in a situation where your employer is alleging that the reason for your dismissal is redundancy, they have to follow a fair and reasonable procedure. So they have to go through a consultation. Even if it's just one person who is at risk of redundancy, they do have to undertake a consultation. And they need to go through this process with you. Now, if you have been selected for redundancy and you are essentially in what we call a pool for one, so you're the only person who's been put at risk and you're the only person who's seemingly going to be made redundant, then you can ask more questions about this, and you should ask for more information and evidence as to how they've reached that decision. Now, employers can use a pool for one, so they can identify a single role or a particular role that needs to go for whatever reason, maybe economic, maybe they no longer need that in terms of the work that they do, lots of reasons why they might choose a pool for one. But for employers, it's much more difficult to justify that decision, and they need to really have kind of stringent reasons and processes behind that in order to justify the decision. So you're more likely to have grounds for a claim for unfair dismissal where you are made redundant and you are the only person in that pool and they're seemingly the only person in the organisation to be made redundant. Now, your employer may very well have legitimate reasons, but you need to ascertain those from your employer. So it's reasonable to ask questions. And in particular, if you feel that there are other colleagues who undertake a similar role to you, who should be put into the same pool and therefore be selected and give you the opportunity to retain your role or to be selected against colleagues, then you should also raise this. So if you are put at risk of redundancy and you are in a pool for one, or you seem to be the only person who's been selected for redundancy, or it's a bit suspicious, then do ask more questions. Put those questions in writing to your employer and engage in the consultation process. And where necessary, get some advice from somebody who knows about redundancies and